Welcome back to Chapter 6 of The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. Did you make a prediction in the last episode of what was going to happen in this chapter? We left the 4 children in the wardrobe, and there were a few other clues in the chapter about what might be coming next. Let's see if we're right. Chapter 6, Into the Forest. I wish the Macready would hurry up and take all these people away, said Susan presently. I'm getting horribly cramped. And what a filthy smell of camphor, said Edmund. Oh, I expect the pockets are full of it, said Susan, to keep away the moths. There's something sticking into my back, said Peter. And isn't it cold, said Susan. Now that you mention it, said Peter, it is cold. And hang it all, it's wet too. What's the matter with this place? I think I'm sitting on something wet. It's getting wetter every minute. He struggled to his feet. Let's get out, said Edmund. They've gone. Oh, said Susan suddenly, and everyone asked her what was the matter. I'm sitting against a tree, said Susan, and look, it's getting light over there. By Jove, you're right, said Peter, and look there and there. It's trees all around. And this wet stuff is snow. Why, I do believe we've got into Lucy's wood after all. And now there was no mistaking it, and all 4 children stood blinking in the daylight of a winter day. Behind them were coats hanging on pegs. In front of them were snow-covered trees. Peter turned at once to Lucy. I apologise for not believing you, he said. I'm sorry. Will you shake hands? Of course, said Lucy, and did. And now, said Susan, what do we do next? Do? Said Peter. Why, go and explore the wood, of course. Ah, said Susan, stamping her feet. It's pretty cold. What about putting on some of those coats? They're not ours, said Peter doubtfully. I'm sure nobody would mind, said Susan. It isn't as if we wanted to take them out of the house. We shan't even take them out of the wardrobe. I never thought of that, Sue, said Peter. Of course, now you put it that way. No one could say you'd bagged a coat as long as you leave it in the wardrobe where you found it. And I suppose this whole country is the wardrobe. They immediately carried out Susan's very sensible plan. The coats were rather too big for them, so they came down to their heels and looked more like royal robes than coats when they put them on. But they all felt a good deal warmer, and each thought the other looked better in their new get-up and more suitable to the landscape. We can pretend we're Arctic explorers, said Lucy. This is going to be exciting enough, without pretending, said Peter as he began leading the way forward into the forest. There were heavy, darkish clouds overhead, and it looked as if there might be more snow before night. I say, said Edmund presently, oughtn't we to be bearing a bit more to the left, that is, if we're aiming for the lamp-post? He'd forgotten for a moment that he must pretend never to have been in the forest before. The moment the words were out of his mouth, he realised he'd given himself away. Everyone stopped. Everyone stared at him. Peter whistled. So, you really were here, he said. That time Lou said she'd met you in here, and you made out she was telling lies. There was a dead silence. Well, of all the poisonous little beasts, said Peter, and shrugged his shoulders and said no more. There seemed indeed no more to say, and presently the 4 of them resumed their journey. But Edmund was saying to himself, I'll pay you all out for this, you pack of stuck-up, self-satisfied prigs. Where are we going anyway? Said Susan, chiefly for the sake of changing the subject. I think Lou ought to be the leader, said Peter. Goodness knows she deserves it. Where will you take us, Lou? What about going to see Mr. Tumnus? Said Lucy. He's the nice faun I told you about. Everyone agreed to this, and off they went, walking briskly and stamping their feet. Lucy proved a good leader. At first she wondered whether she'd be able to find the way, but she recognised an odd-looking tree in one place and a stump in another, and brought them on to where the ground became uneven, and into the little valley, and at last to the very door of Mr. Tumnus's cave. But there a terrible surprise awaited them. The door had been wrenched off its hinges and broken to bits. Inside, the cave was dark and cold, and had the damp feel and smell of a place that had not been lived in for several days. Snow had drifted in from the doorway and was heaped on the floor, mixed with something black, which turned out to be the charred sticks and ashes from the fire. Someone had apparently flung it about the room and then stamped it out. The crockery lay smashed on the floor, and the picture of the fawn's father had been slashed into shreds with a knife. "This is a pretty good washout," said Edmund. "Not much good coming here." "What is this?" said Peter, stooping down. He had just noticed a piece of paper which had been nailed through the carpet to the floor. "Is there anything written on it?" said Susan. "Yes, I think there is," answered Peter, "but I can't read it in this light. Let's get out into the open air." They all went out into the daylight and crowded around Peter as he read out the following words. "The former occupant of these premises, the Fawn Tumnus, is under arrest and awaiting his trial on a charge of high treason against Her Imperial Majesty Jadis, Queen of Narnia, Chatelaine of Cair Paravel, Empress of the Lone Islands, etc. Also of comforting her said Majesty's enemies, harbouring spies, fraternizing with humans. Signed Morgan, Captain of the Secret Police. Long live the Queen." The children stared at each other. "I don't know that I'm going to like this place after all," said Susan. "Who is this Queen, Lou?" said Peter. "Do you know anything about her?" "She isn't a real queen at all," answered Lucy. "She's a horrible witch. The White Witch. Everyone, all the wood people, hate her. She's made an enchantment over the whole country so that it's always winter here and never Christmas." I wonder if there's any point going on," said Susan. "I mean, it doesn't seem particularly safe here, and it looks as if it won't be much fun. It's getting colder every minute, and we've got nothing to eat. What about just going home?" "Oh, but we can't, said Lucy suddenly. "We can't just go home, not after this. It's all on my account that the poor fawn's got into trouble. He hid me from the witch, showed me the way back. That's what it means by comforting the Queen's enemies and fraternizing with humans. We simply must try to rescue him." "A lot we could do," said Edmund. "We haven't even got anything to eat." "Shut up, you," said Peter, who was still very angry with Edmund. "What do you think, Susan?" "I've a horrid feeling that Lou's right," said Susan. "I don't want to go a step further into this forest, and I wish we'd never come, but I think we must try to do something for Mr. whatever his name is. I mean the fawn." "That's what I feel too," said Peter. "I'm worried about having no food with us. I'd vote for going back and getting some from the larder, but there doesn't seem to be any certainty of getting back in this country again once you've got out of it. I think we'll have to go on." "So do I," said both the girls. "If only we knew where the poor chap was being imprisoned," said Peter. They were all still wondering what to do next, when Lucy said, "Look, there's a robin with such a red breast. It's the first bird I've seen since I've been here. I say, I wonder, can birds talk in Narnia? It almost looks as if it wants to say something to us." Then she turned to the robin and said, "Please, can you tell us where Mr. Tumnus the fawn's been taken to?" As she said this, she took a step closer to the bird. It at once flew away, but only as far as the next tree. There it perched and looked at them very hard, as if it understood all that they'd been saying. Almost without noticing that they'd done so, the 4 children went a step or 2 nearer to it. At this, the robin flew away again to the next tree, and once more looked at them very hard. You couldn't have found a robin with a redder breast or a brighter eye. "Do you know," said Lucy, "I really believe he means us to follow him." "I've an idea he does," said Susan. "What do you think, Peter?" "Well, we might as well try it," said Peter. The robin appeared to understand the matter thoroughly. It kept going from tree to tree, always a few yards ahead of them, but always so near they could easily follow it. In this way it led them on slightly downhill. Wherever the robin alighted, a little shower of snow would fall off the branch. Presently the clouds parted overhead, and the winter sun came out, and the snow all around them grew dazzlingly bright. They had been travelling in this way for about half an hour, with the 2 girls in front, when Edmund said to Peter, "If you're not still too high and mighty to talk to me, I've something to say which you'd better listen to." "What is it?" said Peter. Hush, not so loud, said Edmund. There's no good frightening the girls, but have you realised what we're doing? What? Said Peter, lowering his voice to a whisper. We're following a guide we know nothing about. How do you know which side the bird's on? Why shouldn't it be leading us into a trap? That's a nasty idea. Still, a robin, you know. They're good birds in all the stories I've ever read. I'm sure a robin wouldn't be on the wrong side. If it comes to that, which is the right side? How do we know the fawns are in the right and the queen, yes, I know we've been told she's a witch, is in the wrong? We don't really know anything about either. The fawn saved Lucy. He said he did, but how do we know? And there's another thing too. Has anyone the least idea of how to get home from here? Great Scott, said Peter. I hadn't thought of that. And no chance of dinner either, said Edmund. And that's the end of chapter 6. So was your prediction that the children would go into Narnia? Because in chapter 5, it said, and that's how the third adventure began. And then it said there seemed to be some magic chasing them into Narnia. And then the children were in Narnia. This was probably the easiest chapter to predict what was coming next. We learn quite a lot more about Peter in this chapter. We already know he's adventurous. But if I were to say that he was honourable and fair, what evidence is there in this chapter to support that? What sorts of things does he do and what ways does he behave? What things does he say to support the idea that he is fair and honourable? He's a person of honour and good moral code. Well, there are lots of examples. Perhaps the most obvious one is his immediate apology to Lucy when he realises that she's been right all along. He at once apologises to Lucy and asks to shake hands. His first instinct is to correct his mistake and his misjudgment. And when it comes to taking the coats, what's his first instinct? He doesn't want to take the coats out of the wardrobe. Why not? He says they're not ours. He has a sense of honour. He doesn't, even though they're cold, he doesn't want to take something that doesn't belong to them. It could be stealing. However, when Susan explains her reasons why it's justifiable to take them, he's fair, open-minded and changes his mind. He also has a fair response to realising that Edmund has been lying and making Lucy look like a liar. He's furious with him, and his sense of justice and honour is really tested by Edmund's actions. And he seeks to do right by now deferring to Lucy and asking her opinion and making her the leader. However, at the end, when Edmund says, if you're not too high and mighty to talk to me, Peter does listen to what he has to say. So again, showing this fairness and open-mindedness, you almost feel like he's prepared to give Edmund another chance. So they arrive at Mr. Tumnus's cave and they find that he's been taken away on a charge of high treason. Now let's see if we can figure out what that might mean from what comes next. Treason against the Queen of Narnia. So the Queen of Narnia has instructed all the animals to work as her spies and deliver up any human beings that they find in Narnia to her. And we know that Tumnus didn't do that. So we know that whatever he did is against the Queen and against her authority. And high treason is a charge of betraying your country and attempting to overthrow the king or queen. So you can infer the meaning that it's a crime against the king or queen, in this case the queen. Also, he's accused of harbouring spies and fraternizing with humans. Let's look at the word harbouring. I think we did this in the Advent book club. The word harbouring. Is there a word in there that we might know? The word harbour. Do you have an image of ships in harbour? In enclosed, safe space. So harbouring means to conceal something or someone in a safe space. So he's accused exactly what he did of protecting Lucy and hiding her away. And fraternizing with humans. Well, what did Mr. Tumnus do with humans? What did he do? He hung out with Lucy, didn't he? They had food together, they listened to stories, they played music, and they acted like they were friendly, brotherly. And fraternizing means to be friends with people that you shouldn't be. There's the implication that you shouldn't be friends with them. There's the suggestion, fraternizing with the wrong people. And while they're wondering what to do, they see this robin. And why do they decide to follow the robin to see if they can arrive at Mr. Tumnus's whereabouts? What is it about the robin? Well, the robin appears to understand them because he moves to one branch, waits for them, and moves to another. And this suggests that he is taking them to Mr. Tumnus. What reason does Peter give Edmund for following the robin and trusting him? He says that in every story he's read about robins, they're good birds and they're unlikely to be on the wrong side. Do you agree with Peter's thinking? Do you think that's a good basis for making the decision to follow the robin? Can you come up with reasons why you do agree with Peter and reasons why you don't? Why is it a good decision and why is it not a good decision? And see which of those ideas you feel is stronger. Can you make a prediction about what's coming next? Were the children right to trust the robin? Is he going to lead them to Mr. Tumnus or into greater danger? Make your prediction and we'll find out in the next episode. Until then.